Hello everyone, today I'm gonna be going over the Sound Gizmo. This is gonna be a quick yet comprehensive guide on how to use it with TypeScript. If you get stuck at any certain point, just leave a comment below or you can rewatch that part again. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get to it. Let's start by grabbing these three game assets. First, we need a trigger. So you can get this by going to the builds menu, clicking gizmos, and then you can just drag the trigger zone. Second, we need a shape. You can go to the builds menu and grab it from the shapes. It doesn't really matter which one, but what we will do with these two is we're gonna grab that trigger zone and we're gonna place it like that over the ramp. So this way, when we go into preview mode, we don't have to guess where the trigger is. We know that it's over the ramp over here. And last, we just need an sound gizmo. You can get the sound gizmo from multiple places. So you can get it from the public assets. So just go to the public assets, so go to the filters and select audio, and then you can come over here and just drag whatever audio you want. Let's delete that. Another way you can get a sound gizmo, you can go to the build section, you can go to gizmos, and you can grab a sound recorder. This way you can record whatever sound you want, and you can use it just as a sound gizmo. Another way is you can go to the builds menu underneath sounds, and then you can just select from any category you want over here and just drag it. And another way, you can go to My Assets and import your own custom sound. And the last way is you can go to the Gen AI feature and then you can select the sound duration and you can write a description and just press generate and the AI will generate you a custom sound effect. So these are the primary ways you can get sounds in Horizon Worlds. So since we have this set up, we're just going to duplicate it 3 times like that. So just select these two objects and press Ctrl D to duplicate it. So Control D again, and then just drag it. This way we have 3 triggers. The first one is gonna be for playing the audio, playing this audio over here, the sound gizmo. The second one is to pause it, and the last one is to stop it. To make this work, we need a script. So to do that, we're gonna go to the scripts section over here, and we're gonna create a new script, and we're gonna call it audio, and press enter. Wait for it to load, and then we have to connect it to this gizmo over here, to the sound gizmo. So attach script, so press on it and then it's going to show you the properties and attach script, and we're going to choose the audio script. Now that we have the audio script attached to it, let's go and edit that. So scripts, audio, and Visual Studio just opened. And just a quick recap, on the left section you can see all of the scripts that we have in our Horizon world. As you see, audio is the one that we just created and the other ones are from previous videos. We're not going to worry about these right now. On the main section over here, here is our main code. We're gonna start by re-importing Horizon Core. The purpose of the re-import is just so we don't have to use the HC dot in front of everything we use from the Horizon Core library. So let's just delete that. Delete the HZ dot, same thing for the one on the bottom, and remove the T, press the T again, and make sure to press enter to re-import it. This way we don't have to use the HC dot in front of everything. Just makes coding a little bit easier. And let's make a couple of spaces over here. And just a quick recap, the start method automatically runs when the game starts. This is how you start the game. Okay. So let's start by going to the learn underscore TS over here. I have a couple of things that I'm gonna be going through with this video. So I'm just gonna copy them, go back to the audio and paste them over here. These are basically commented, so they won't affect the script at all. So here's what we're going to be going over. We're going to be going over the different methods, which are going to be play, stop, pause, changing the volume, changing the pitch, and some audio options. I'm going to go through every one of these and explain them in detail. So first, to reference this sound gizmo over here, we're going to have to write this dot entity. Basically, this dot entity refers to whatever object the script is attached to. So since we have the audio script attached to this object, we're referencing to this object. So this way, when we write this dot entity, the script knows that we mean the sound gizmo. but it doesn't know that this is a sound gizmo, so we need to tell it so. So to do that, we're just gonna press dot and we're gonna write as open two parentheses audio gizmo. This way, TypeScript knows that this is an audio gizmo. And then once we do that, we can access the multiple methods you see over here. So play, stop, and pause. So dot play, for example. And if we just save that, and since we have the script attached to the audio gizmo and the start, and we have this line in the start over here, once we start the game, it's gonna automatically run. So let's test that. So start, and as you see, the sound has already started. So let's stop that. Let's go back to the script section, and let's start by connecting the triggers to the script. So to reference the triggers, we're gonna have to make a slot for each one in the props definition. So just come over here and write trigger one, and then type prop types dot entity. What this line basically does is it makes a variable, and it also makes a slot over here where we can place the trigger at. So this way we can drag trigger one to here. And I renamed them to trigger one, trigger two, and trigger three. So just go to the audio gizmo, and then you can just drag trigger one and place it to the corresponding section over here. And let's do the same thing for trigger 2 and trigger 3. We have to rename them. Okay, and let's connect them. Just wait for it, and now as you see, we have slots to connect them. So trigger 2 and trigger 3. This way we can reference them in the script. And as I showed you in previous videos, I showed you how to connect the trigger zones to the script, so I'm gonna go over this fast. So this is basically how you connect a trigger to the script. So what this does is whenever a player enters the trigger, this method is gonna run. So how this works is we're using something called connect code blocks events, and then this allows us to listen to events from the trigger. So first we need to pass in the entity we're listening to. So in this case, we're listening to the trigger, specifically trigger one. And how we reference that is we use this dot props, and this props gives us this object over here. So that's how we got the trigger. So this trigger is the first trigger over here. Second, the second parameter is the kind of event we're listening to. So we're listening to on player enter trigger, when the player enters trigger. And last, we're telling it what thing or what method it should run. So we basically created a new method, and we told it that we need to, whenever this event happens, we're just gonna forward it to the trigger one method. So it's just gonna call the trigger one. If you wanna test real fast, we're just gonna console.log something, trigger one entered, for example. Let's save that with Control S and let's go back. Also, one feature to turn on is just click on the trigger and turn on selectable in screen mode. This way, if you're not in VR, you get a pop-up like that. Let's turn it on the other ones and then I'll show you. Okay, let's stop the sound for now because I don't want this to run. So just delete this thing. Save it. Wait for it to compile over here. So go over here and disable the play on start. Yeah, this one. That's it. And let's start the world, and now it's working. So let's go to preview from here, and as you see, we get a pop-up, and when we press it, let's go to the console, and then when we press it, we get a console.log. This way we know that the trigger is working. So I'm just gonna basically do that for the rest of the two remaining triggers over here. So just copy this twice and copy this twice as well. And we're just gonna rename them to trigger 2 and trigger 3. So trigger 2, trigger 3, and don't forget to update these as well. We're gonna be listening to trigger 2 and trigger 3. And if we test that and update these as well, if we test that, it should tell you exactly which trigger we're entering. So stop, start again, clear, preview, and then you can see this is trigger 1 and third. Oh, I think it needs to update. Yeah, okay. So let's try it again. Trigger 1 and third, trigger 2 and third, and trigger 3 and third. So now we have the basic setup, and now let's start messing with the sound gizmo. So the first trigger wanna start the audio. So this dot entity dot play dot entity dot as audio gizmo dot play. This way we play the audio, which is this entity, and then we're gonna copy that. And for the second trigger, we're gonna pause it. So pause, and then for the last one, we're gonna stop it. Stop. And these are like the main functions we're gonna be using. Once we test this, we're gonna be going over the volume, pitch, and the audio options. So if we go over here and we make sure it compiles over here, just if you see a yellow or orange dot, it means it's compiling. Once it's gone, it's compiled. And let's start by clicking this button. And as you see, the audio started. And if you want to pause it, just click that button over here and it paused. If you want to continue the audio, just click this one. And then if you want to reset the whole audio and stop it, just click the last one. Notice the difference between these two is when you stop it, it stops the audio and it resets from the beginning, while when you pause it and play it again, it continues where you left off. And as you see, we have the main methods working over here. So let's pause the word and let's go cover the rest options. So the volume basically sets the volume. When we play the audio, we can have it over here. So just copy this line. You can press Shift Alt and the bottom arrow to copy things. So if you have your cursor on this line, just Shift Alt and bottom arrow and you're gonna copy the line. This is just a useful tip that I use a lot. And then instead of play, I'm gonna be using dot volume. Okay. And the volume method takes in a number between 0 and 1 for the volume. So 0 being the lowest thing and 1 being the highest thing. For some reason, we're getting an error. Okay, yeah. We need to use dot volume dot set method. So this is how you write it. And then just pass in a 0 for no volume or 1 for the max volume. For now, we're just going to pass in 1 to have the max volume. The other method is the pitch. You can set that by deleting that, writing pitch dot set, same thing for the volume, and then what it takes basically if you just hover on the pitch, it tells you what it takes. So the audio pitch is semitones, which means it ranges from -24 to 24, and one semitone is one octave, and an increase in one octave makes the audio twice as fast. So you can basically use this description to know what value you can set it. So let's try 0 for example. Okay, let's stop that. Let's save it and wait for it to compile, and then we can test it again. So start the word and preview. Let's try something else than 0. So let's try 20, let's try 12 for example to see what happens. So as you see, 12 is a whole octave, and then since we increased it, it's gonna be playing twice as fast. So let's test that. And as you see, it's twice as fast and the pitch has changed. So basically the volume and pitch are working right now. And last thing I'm gonna cover in this video is the audio options. So let's copy this over here. We're gonna delete the pitch for now because it's kind of annoying. Okay, let's uncomment that. So basically, what I did over here is I had a constant, called it audio options. You can call it whatever you want, and the type of it is audio options. It's giving us an error because we need to import it. So when you have it, so you write audio options and press enter. When you press enter, it automatically gets it from here. So it automatically includes it up here. This is why we were having an error. So if we remove this thing, as you see, we got the error back. So just remove the S, press the S, and press enter again. And basically, the audio options, it's an object that has two keys. The first one is fade and the other one is players. So fade in this option is the seconds, the duration in seconds. So this is saying that it's gonna fade throughout 1 second. The players is a player array. It takes in an array of players, as it says, and then this is who the who this method is gonna affect. So once you have these two, so in this case I have one as the fade, so 1 second, and then for the players, I'm basically getting all of the players in the world. For your specific case, you can place whatever players you want over here to get affected. And once you have the audio option over here, you can just use it in the play method, pause and stop. So what you can basically do is you can just pass it over here as audio options. This way, when you call this, when you call this line over here, it's gonna play it. It's gonna play the gizmo. It's gonna play this entity, this sound gizmo, and it's gonna have a fade of one, and then it's gonna play it for these players only, which I'm gonna be included in this. So let's try that. So save it, go back, start, and as you see, it takes in a second to fade in, and we can also hear it since the players list I was included in it. So let's pause it and then we can stop it. We can play it again. Let's pause it. And this is basically how you can use the sound gizmo with TypeScript. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a like if you understood something from this video, and I'll see you next time.